Welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be flying out the Alpha Jet, which is the plane that they kind of named the last update after, which they had to do of course because you can't name an update after a $75 premium. Now this is the ground attacker up most and foremost. It's not sort of meant to be an air-to-air fighter, even though it can do that fairly well, and we'll get into that sort of in a little bit later in the video. We'll have some dogfighting clips. When it comes to ground strike potential, you don't get any guided weapons of course. This is a 9.0 aircraft. However, you do get a full ballistics computer with up to 6 500-pound dumb bombs, and as well as 144 Type 23 Sneb rockets for the French one, and 114 Mighty Mouse rockets for the German one. If I sound a little bit nasally today, I apologise, but I am quite ill right now, so that's just nothing I can do about it. The main difference between these two planes, though, it's the fact that the German one can get up to 60 countermeasures, and the French one gets 2 gun pods. Now, there's also a difference between the guns. The German gets the 27mm Mauser cannon, and the French one gets the 30mm Defa cannons. In terms of performance, if you ask me, they seem like very similar in terms of performance. Maybe I'm wrong on that. It's kind of you tend to have to get a little bit closer in sim to hit your targets anyway, especially with the way this plane works as well, which I'll get into a little bit later. But when it comes to armament, they're very, very similar. I do prefer the French one just because I don't think you really need flares all that much at 9.0. At least when you're doing air-to-air stuff, and the extra gun pods on the French one just kind of do really help this plane out, because of course you don't get any air-to-air missiles, you don't get any AIM-9Bs or anything like that. You are just stuck with your guns, which a lot of people are really going to like. However, you don't get a lot of ammunition for this aircraft as well. The main cannon underneath the fuselage only gets 150 rounds in for both planes. And you do run out of ammo quite quickly. You do have to sort of pick your shots, which can be a little bit difficult to do because this plane, I don't know what it is, I can't quite put my finger on it, but the rudder feels kind of weird, and it can be kind of hard to sort of aim point the nose exactly where you want to. As you can see, I'm really struggling to sort of to shoot at this shoot down this A4 here. Now the A4 is obviously quite a maneuverable plane. But I wouldn't say it's more maneuverable than the Alpha Jet, because this is the Alpha Jet is actually quite a maneuverable plane. You get an insane roll rate as well. So you end up, for most of your air-to-air calls, you end up having to get like quite close to your target as well, which can take a while. It can be a little bit difficult to sort of get those snapshots in, just because of the way the gun sight works, and like I said, the rudder feels a little bit off. So you do tend to sort of spend a little bit more time in dogfights than you would in something like a Sabre, or potentially like a MiG-17 or something like that, which can leave you vulnerable in furballs for a little bit longer than you might feel comfortable with in most cases. Now the good news is about this plane is that you do get some pretty decent flight performance when it comes to 9.0. I would say it's very similar to something like that of like some of the earlier Sabres, like maybe the A5 or something. You do want to keep it fast. You don't want to get into any slow speed rolling scissor fights or anything like that. However, the energy retention, like the Sabres, is quite decent on this as well, so you can keep it fast. And if you get like a little bit slow, it doesn't take too long for you to get your energy back either. And just the overall responsiveness on the control surfaces is very good. You have a very high roll rate, you get a very, very good instantaneous pitch rate as well. It's just the rudder that feels a little bit weird, like I said before. And you also get a SAS mode as well, so you can go into dampening whenever you're trying to line up like precise sort of ground strikes on tanks or whatever. Overall, it's a very effective dogfighter when you're fighting stuff like F3Ds or Javelins, like those heavier sort of like early Cold War fighters that you find at this kind of battle rating. Now before we get into the main gameplay of this video, I do just want to mention real quick something pertaining to the gun sight specifically. Now if you take bombs, the way the sight mode thing, ballistic computer, works in this game mode is that whenever you switch over to a certain weapon type, the plane will automatically give you the correct HUD mode for that type of weapon, right? In this case it's bombs, and as you can see I don't have any bombs left. The problem with this plane is because there's no other sort of weapons to switch through, like air-to-air missiles or anything like that. You get stuck on that bomb CCIP ballistic computer, which means that you don't actually get the gun sight, and as you just saw when I killed that F11, the guns actually shoot slightly below that flight path vector indicator there. That doesn't work anyway, but that dot, that little circle in the middle, isn't actually where your guns are aiming. Your guns are always aiming slightly below that. So in other words, if you take bombs, you don't actually get an accurate gun sight. That's just something that is definitely worth mentioning on this plane. Now for this next match here, I don't have any ground ordnance on. I took the gun pods to give me a little bit more firepower, and as you can see, the gun sight looks a little bit different now. You actually get a gun sight. That was Bullet from my enemy, by the way, in that Javelin, which when I saw his name in the server list, I sort of... I wouldn't say I was nervous, but he is a very... I used to watch his videos and sort of learn from him, so it's you know what I'm trying to say. Luckily, though, he was flying the Javelin, which isn't a very good aircraft, so yeah. But anyway, I'm going to try and save this A-cap over here. As you can see, the enemy team has almost capped it. Now, I fly into it, and it turns out they're actually still capping it, which tells me that I'm definitely outnumbered. I don't know if there's any teammates in here, but I know now that there's definitely 2 enemies in here somewhere. And as you can see, I spot an F9F over there. Now, if you're outnumbered like this, and the enemy hasn't spotted you yet, it is really in your best interest to take out as many of the enemies as you can before they all sort of converge on you, right? Because then at that point, you're just fighting too many people at the same time. You want to isolate your enemy as much as possible, get into as many one-on-ones as you can at this kind of battle rating. Well, any kind of battle rating, really, but if you don't have any teammates around, because you don't want to fight the whole horde. Now, luckily, I did have a teammate up here, and he was distracted with this F3H here. Pretty easy shot there. It's the A32, and so I took him out. But now I know that there was a teammate in here, which tells me, okay, there were at least 3 enemies in here, because they were obviously still capping it as we were both. And there we go. There's an Ariete over there, and I'm trying to sort of turn into my teammate here, try and save him, try and get on the Ariete 6, but it can be a little bit difficult if you have quite a bit of speed on the Alpha Jet, because the elevator authority is so good. It makes it really easy to black out. It's one of those planes where you swear like the G suit is just like a little bit weaker or something, but it's generally just the fact that the plane doesn't really compress. The combination with the speed and everything, it's a very maneuverable plane, and your pilot obviously doesn't. Your pilot's G tolerance doesn't scale with the maneuverability of the plane. Now, I get behind the Ariete here. I'm trying to just get a little bit a little bit closer to him. I'm staying like sort of behind him, but slightly below him. Obviously, I'm not here, but that's generally what you should always do, because it's the most obvious blind spot. Now, I wasn't sure if the Ariete is actually faster than the Alpha Jet or not. I think they're actually about the same speed there, but I took a risk. I wanted to go for that long range shot there. Because I didn't know if he was actually going to end up outrunning me or not, and it actually kind of paid off. Now, I merged with an A4 here. The A4 is better in the 1 circle turn, so instantaneous turn rate, but it has less energy retention, so that's what I'm kind of trying to do. I'm trying to sort of stick to the 2 circle, drain him of his energy. I want to keep him turning as much as possible so he loses as much speed as possible. I'm also in a little bit of a tricky spot here for him to actually spot me. As I said before, you want to stay behind them and then slightly below them as well. It makes you very difficult to spot for a lot of aircraft, because that's generally the blind spot of an aircraft. He does slow down. He is quite slow. I think he's actually carrying some like ground ordnance or whatever. He doesn't see me or anything, so yeah, I clip his wing there. Pretty easy shot again, and I seem to have spotted something behind me. I actually don't get the kill for that, I just realised. So yeah, the A32 is trying to engage something behind me. I'm not sure what this is actually. Again, my mini player that I'm sort of commentating this on isn't the highest quality, so it can be kind of difficult. Ah, yeah, okay, I see. It's an F9F now. The F9F, again, it's kind of good in 1 circle. It can give you like rollers a little bit, but its energy retention isn't that great, and that's exactly what I'm trying to sort of exploit at this point. Now, I have a little bit of speed. I'm not the fastest in the world, but I definitely have more energy than the F9F at this point. So I'm trying to keep on turning. As you can see, it's working because he can't maintain the energy. He can't get his speed back while he's turning like this. I can in this case. We're dropping altitude a little bit just to get a little bit more speed, and I think it's fine to do because he was dropping altitude as well. So we essentially just do the same thing, and my plane is better at doing this. Now, I dodged, something tries to shoot at me there. I wasn't sure what that was. It looked a little bit like a Javelin, but the Javelin generally has green traces. Now, I come around a circle here. Eventually I catch up to the F9F, and I think he actually ends up like going down here, almost flying to that tree. And yeah, a little bit disappointed. I hate when stuff like that happens, but then again, if someone does legitimately crash into the ground because they made a mistake, then yeah, that's obviously fine. I just wish Gaijin gave us sort of credit for maneuver kills in that case, but obviously they will never do that. Now, I spotted a Javelin what I thought was going back to base, and in my quest for good dogfighting footage, I decided to follow him around for a little bit. However, it looked like I wasn't going to catch him. Now, I didn't have that much ammo left either, so I decided to just go back. But the second I turn away, he actually turns around and decides to give me a fight. Now, we're in a head-on here. I just sort of fly to the side a little bit. I try and avoid it, just because there's no need to sort of risk a head-on. I'm in the better platform here. It's actually beneficial to me if we do get into a dogfight. I go into the vertical just because I have quite a bit of energy going. We get quite a bit of separation in these situations, especially the Javelin's quite a big aircraft for this kind of battle rating, so it's a little bit easy to maintain visual, but it's something you really need to work on because it's something I've actually been struggling with recently. Now, you can see he's really low on speed at this point. I pull into his side like pretty effortlessly, and this is a mark of a good pilot. I try and pull him into the gun sight here, and he actually jinks out of the way. That is the experience sort of flying there, but obviously I'm in an Alpha Jet, and yeah, that is a Javelin, so I do end up getting 2 like lucky shots there with the limited ammo that I had, and end up sawing his wing off. But yeah, that is pretty much it. It can be a little bit difficult to find 9.0 matches in Sims sometimes, depending on where the rotation's at currently and what time of day it is as well. So, having said that though, I do think if you have the French tech tree or the German tech tree kind of like up to where the Alpha Jet is, I think it's definitely worth sort of grinding. It's only like 190,000 RP or something, and it is a very fun plane to just mess about with for an afternoon as well. But yeah, if you're interested in my Discord server, link is in the description as always. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will hopefully see you in the next video. Cheers.